All right, here we go. Episode number 20. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Toby, how you doing?
Doing great. Doing real well.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, we just got done with a conversation with John Marino, and man, that was an awesome, awesome conversation. I think you're going to love this episode because John has stories from everywhere, and I mean, there's almost nobody that he doesn't know in the sports world, or he's gotten to experience tons of different things from pro to college to high school.
Yeah, and man, the passion of everything he does from his days in the UP to his college life to just now talking about the cardiac attack pack. I mean, it's a guy that knows just about everybody in sports, and just a fantastic interview, and we had a blast with it.
Yeah, and I know the episode's a little bit longer than it might be one of our longest episodes ever at an hour and 20, but it kind of flew by. It's one of these that just was so much fun to listen to him and go through it. So yeah, I think you're going to enjoy this one. And kudos to John. Thanks for having him on. We're going to have him on again because there's no way to cover all the things that we wanted to talk about with him in the life that he's had.
No, and I felt bad at an hour and 20 minutes saying maybe we should land the plane, but I'm like, I was going to do that in an hour, and I'm like, we got to keep going. I mean, we're not even touching the surface here.
Yeah.
And the hidden knowledge of what's great about John in the interview was talking about, the high school back in the day and the excitement in the localized high school and the teams and the people he knew and all the things that the WWII and WWII that we don't do anymore. So that was fun to reminisce.
For sure. And I think we're going to, I jotted down, let's see if you like this title. It's Yooper, that's a really old phone or something along those lines. You'll get to see what he's talking about with that. But when he said it, I was like, okay, that's a funny line. We're going to put that down for the title. So
that was a great story from the Superbowl.
It is. So episode 20 coming at you. Hope you enjoy it. Give us some feedback. If you like John, we'll have to have him back on again for some more stories.
Yeah, and we're still looking for subscribers on YouTube. We've hit our golden mark of 50, so we're going to be doing some live stuff. So coming weeks, so pay attention to that. And that's going to be exciting. I think it's time to blow it up.
For sure. And actually, now that you mentioned, I forgot that. So Toby and I talked about this a little bit. The soccer team that I'm helping coach, we're a little bit in between on how we want to do recordings of our game. So we might actually broadcast that on Judging Bouncing Balls YouTube page, live stream. So if you're interested, might be a live stream there. That's going to be a premonition of things to come. We're going to try to do some more live games on there. There won't be announcing, but if you do want to watch a live game, a soccer game from high school, you may be able to tune in and see that as well.
Remember, we're all rooting for Spash to win conference.
Because we got to get rid of this stuff.
We're going to shave the head. It's going to be amazing. Really pulling for you.
You dang right. Hey, I need a cut.
That is a lot of hair.
There's a lot of hair. All right, let's get into the episode. Thanks, Tobes. All right. Welcome back to Judging Bouncing Balls. Really excited to get episode number 20 started, I should say, here. And we've got an awesome guest. I've been doing a little bit of research here. John Marino, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Love it. Thank you very much. I love what you guys do. And I think something like this is really important.
Very cool.
I mean, not my presence is really important, but talking about high school sports is really important.
Both.
Well, we appreciate it. I don't know if you remember this, John, but I worked a little bit with you. I started helped run the Ben Edinger football tournament back in the day. And you came on and did our championship game over at East High School one day.
I absolutely remember that. Wow, that's cool. Boy, you're talking about a legendary name there, Ben Edinger. And I'm still great friends with his mom and dad, or stepdad, Randy and Rose. And I actually sponsored a scholarship in his name at Green Bay West High School, then continue to do it.
Wow.
Excellent. Yeah, I know we came up with some funds and hopefully it paid off. But
yeah, it was. That's all. It all went to that. It went to that scholarship. What you guys did.
Excellent.
Well, thank you.
Excellent. No, that was and but just happy to. I know from your broadcast days, listening to you're from the UP. I spent 2 years going to school up there. I'll be honest. I'm not quite.
Where did you go?
Like you, I went to Northern Michigan.
You're a wildcat.
I am a cat. I made it 2 years and then I had to move on. Too cold, too much snow.
Too much time spent at those nickel beer joints. Let's be honest.
I was up there 2 Sundays ago. I was sitting in the third base bar, reliving my youth.
Oh boy.
Great place to go to school if you don't have to study a lot.
That fit me. That was pretty much my MO.
That's Toby.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
But hey, your long history in youth sports and high school sports, which you still do, and we appreciate you coming on. And we're going to throw some stuff at you to get some opinions and any stories that you can share about the time. We'd love to hear.
Great, bring it on.
Yeah, so I think where we'll start off is, John, if you could give us just a little bit of history. I'm amazed. I don't know you. I've never gotten to meet you, but I was looking over a little bit of your backstory. You've been in broadcasting. I was telling Toby, there's like nothing you haven't done. You've been in broadcasting for like 3 decades, maybe 4 now. You've got 4 books.
I don't know. I think it's only 2. I think you're really magnifying that.
Sorry.
I'm only 34 years old. So.
Oh, geez. Okay, sorry, my fault.
Actually, yeah. Let me tell you something. I started so far back. Let me tell you something. You guys probably weren't even born. Do you guys remember when the hostages were taken in Iran?
That was when I was born.
No, you don't. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So the day my first day on TV in the amazing market of Twin Falls, Idaho, where I was making unbelievable money, $9,000 a year. And that was the same day that the hostages were taken in Iran in 1979. I left you know what? You know, you talk about these players coming out early.
Yeah.
These days, these mega stars coming out early. Yeah. I came out early. I hadn't graduated yet from Arizona State, and they offered me the job. And I took Twin Falls, Idaho for 9,000 bones a year, brother.
Nice.
So there you go. So that's how far back I go.
Sometimes you gotta hold out, John, for maybe the next offer.
My goal was double figures.
Head.
My goal was double figures in salary for a year. Honest to Lord. Yep.
That's funny.
Oh, that's
fantastic. You know what? Let's bring this full circle. I actually know. I'm not joking. I know one of the hostages.
Seriously?
I do. Kevin Hermaning.
Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin Hermaning.
Kevin Hermaning. Oh my gosh, I've met Kevin. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
What a story, isn't it?
It is an unbelievable story. And yeah, what a great guy. So.
Oh, that's cool. Wow. Very nice.
Small world. But anyways, I just.
Small world.
Yeah, the stuff that you've done, you've written 4 books, you've been in broadcasting, TV, you're involved with Veterans Affairs and supporting veterans. I mean, you've got a really storied history. I'd just love for you to talk for a few minutes about your experiences, your life, what you've done, and what kind of brought you to here.
Well, I mean, I just, in the UP, I'll be honest with you, and Toby, you know this, there's not a lot more in the UP than following sports. I mean, the most dedicated Red Wings, Pistons, Brewers, Tigers, Lions, Packers. I mean, it's just the winters are so long and desolate up there that you need to have some kind of release. And for the people up there, it's sports. In a lot of ways, it's high school sports too. High school sports up there are huge. And so I just grew up with that. And then, I went to college. I played a little bit of football at a tiny little junior college in Minnesota and then went to Arizona State. Simply because some of my buddies were going down there for spring break, and I came along with them. And I'm walking through that campus, and I'm like, could I go here? Would that be legal? There's like palm trees and like swimsuit models walking around. I was like, could I go here? So I took my old banged up 1970 Chevy and went to school at Arizona State and had a wonderful time, just a wonderful time, and just got indoctrinated with the thing. And you know what I tell kids is, we were sitting in a class one time. I'll never forget this. And there were kids, all these frat boys from California and all these whatevers. And it was an interview class, okay? And everybody told me, wow, this professor is terrible. He's so tough, you can't believe it. And I was sitting next to this one kid, 4.0 mechanical engineering. He goes, well, I'm just taking this for 3 credits that are really a piece of cake. And I'll never forget this. About 3/4 of the way through the semester, he came to me and goes, could you help me? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to talk to people the way you do. Could you come out with me on one of those things? And it's like, I didn't know I was doing anything different, but it's kind of like the Yooperism where you just talk to people, where you're just a normal person. You don't set yourself above anybody else or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing that I had going for me is that we were just we just were personable, I guess. And there's a funny story one time. I'll tell you this one. Toby, you probably wonder, you might know this name from NMU. Stan Albeck. He'd been a coach.
Heard the name.
Remember the name? He had some legendary teams in the 60s at Northern Michigan. Well, I was doing Toby, you get a kick of this. I was a stringer for the Marquette Mining Journal.
Ooh.
And I told them, I said, hey, the Lakers, and Stan Albeck was one of their coaches, was coming to LA or coming to Phoenix. Could I get a pass and do a feature story for you for the Journal? And they're like, sure. So they set me all up. So here I am, this little kid from Negaunee, and I go to the forum in Phoenix, and I'm looking for Stan Albeck, the assistant coach of the Lakers. And somebody said, I think he's inside that door. So I open this door, I burst open the door, and there is Lou Alcindor sitting on a training table by himself. And I'll never forget this. His feet were this long and his hands were this long. And he looked at me with this startled look like, who are you? And I go, hey, Kareem, have you seen Albeck? I can't find him anyplace. He goes, I think he might be in the lunchroom, man. I'm like, all right, thanks. And I walk out. So I told Albeck that story. He goes, what? He goes, you know Kareem hates the press, right? He said, and he still answered you? He didn't throw you out of that. I go, no. He goes, man, you really are a Yooper, aren't you? So it's one of those things sometimes when you grow up in an area like that where it's just like, hey, we're all the same, whatever. So that just led me into sports broadcasting and the media because like I try to tell these young kids especially, it's like, guys, just be yourself. Don't try to be Bob Costas. Don't try to be Stuart Scott. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Just be yourself and enjoy the ride. So that's the only thing I've done that's, throughout my career. That's just what it's been.
Nice. Did you graduate out of Arizona?
Arizona State?
Arizona State, sorry.
Yes, I did. I actually have a diploma, believe it or not.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
I love Arizona State people. When you mention Arizona, they're like, no, it's state. And then when you mention Arizona, they're like, oh, not the state people. We're the smart people.
If you lived in this, because, here's the funny part though, Toby, so my second job after Twin Falls, Idaho was Tucson, where the U of A is, the University of Arizona is. Yep. And it's exactly, I don't think the rest of the country realizes this, but it's Michigan, Ohio State between Arizona State and the U of A. It's unbelievable. It's wonderful, but you want to talk about the incredible rivalry. You can't even believe it. Yep. So even working in Tucson, when people found out I went to ASU, there was like, we don't trust this guy. Get him out of here. Honest to God. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like at Michigan Tech. At Michigan Tech, they called it Camp Northern.
Yes. Tech and Northern hockey, especially.
Yeah.
Right.
That's funny.
Right.
Huskies against the Wildcats.
Huh.
Oh, that's great. Oh, but getting to high school, I know you do. Is it Channel 13 for the high school football?
Well, Channel 32.
32.
Channel 32, sorry.
Okay.
WACY.
Yeah, you guys do a great job. Now, how did you get that gig? Because that's a perfect gig.
Boy, I've been doing that. Ted and I were actually talking about it. I think it's been 22 years that we've done those games. Ted Stefaniak, who was just one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet in sports broadcasting history. Just a gentleman, just a good guy. And it's funny because I always laugh because we'll show up for every game and Ted will bring all these and he'll tape up, Scotch tape. And he'll tape up all these things on the walls and whatever and all these statistics and everything. And I'll be like, hey, Teddy, do you have a pen I can borrow so I can circle the starters? It's like, and he's got everything so organized, and I just kind of wing it and whatever. So it's a kind of a yin and yang type of thing, but we really have a great time. That is my favorite thing, and all the years I've ever done in broadcasting history, just doing games with Ted is my all-time favorite thing. No lie, and I still love. There is still something about walking up to a high school football stadium on a Friday night and the band is playing and everything that is so special. And I'll be honest with you. When I was in, I visited Iraq a couple of times and Afghanistan once and everything like that. And whenever I was there, I'd ask the guys, I said, hey, tell me something that people take for granted that you guys miss now, but if you were back there, you might not realize how much you appreciate it. And one of the things was walking up to a high school sport event, walking up to a high school football game and hearing that band playing, or walking into a high school gym and that smell of popcorn and the cheerleaders and the band playing and everything like that. And they were like, we miss that.
Well, that's a bummer.
That's America. That's a slice of America right there. High school sports. And that, they said, people ask, what are we fighting for? We're fighting for kids to enjoy high school sports. And that's, I think, is a really big part of society that people underestimate sometimes. It's important. It really is. And sometimes people say, well, sports aren't that important.
Yeah.
Bull crap. They're important.
Yeah.
It's our way of life.
100%. That's how we got to be where we're at, just doing this, because we've seen on, our daughters. So my daughter I have 2 at Bayport, and she's got 2 at Spash over at Stevens Point. So, we started with our kids, and now I have a junior and a freshman, and our daughters play together on the club level, and we're seeing all these things because we're an elite team on the club level, which we've decided that just means travel farther and pay more. So we'll take that for what it is. But as we get into high school sports, we're starting to see the intricacies of high school. Like one of our first episodes, we talked about, we called it the unicorn, the 2-sport athlete, and how they don't exist, because you can't play 2 sports anymore just based on all the time and effort
because of the off seasons.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think soccer's an 11-month season now.
Yeah.
And, football, football doesn't have a club, so it's still the great high school sport. And I think that's the beauty of football, that you can't go play for a club. You don't travel all over the Midwest. You play for your high school, and that's your chance to showcase your talent. And that's the beauty of it. And I think and I'm a big community guy. I know Jeremy is, and I think as we get through high school here, just playing for your home team, right? Playing for your pride. We all did it. I was a Promontory kid growing up. And you always wanted
What year did you graduate from Promontory?
I'm going to tell you, I was class of 92, so I was the first class in Notre Dame. But
okay, I was going to say, so Coach Nowak obviously was there.
Right. Coach Nowak, and then Neville was our baseball coach.
Yep.
Harold Neville. And then, and John went on to win a couple state titles. He was a good guy.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My son actually graduated from Notre Dame.
Okay. What year did he graduate?
2014.
Okay. A little younger than us.
Yeah.
I was 92. Did he play sports?
Did he? No, he did not.
Yeah.
He's just really smart. And really tall and really smart, which 2 things he did not get from me.
That's funny. Well, good for him. Smartest. I tell my kids, there's money in smart. There's a lot more money in smart than playing soccer.
Not in broadcasting, but there is in smart.
Now, did he go on to broadcast?
No, he's in the business world. He's in his business world. He's doing great. Yep.
That's excellent. Hey, so
let me ask a little bit about you guys, if you don't mind.
High school and
so I can turn the tables on you guys. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Tell me about some of the things that you guys see in high school sports these days. The good, the bad, the whole thing, because I've got feelings on both at times. So one of the things, I'll be honest, if you don't mind me bringing this up, one of the things I try to stay away from these kind of things. One of the things that people were contacting me over was, what do you think? Should they go back to WISA because the parochial schools in some divisions are so dominating? What is there a solution? You guys follow high school sports so closely. I would just love more of an expert opinion from you guys.
Man,
I know it's a sensitive
start.
subject. I hope you don't mind me bringing that up.
No, not at all.
Jeremy's the assistant AD at Spash too, so he's got a little more insight.
I don't know if it's more insight, but
by the way, when I did the UWGB basketball games, we had a couple of great guys from Spash. One being Ben Johnson.
Oh, Ben Johnson. Okay, I know the name. I don't know him that well, but I know the name.
Well, he goes way back. He went back to the days when he played against Tony Bennett in high school.
Ooh, Tony Bennett. All right, yeah, very cool.
Yeah, but Spash used to turn out some great athletes.
For sure, yeah, and in certain areas we still do, but yeah, it's fun. Honestly, this question just came up with the parochial school. I follow Travis Wilson online, and he actually just kind of brought that up, and I guess Toby and I make fun of even Notre Dame because of the quote unquote recruiting or whatever you would call it from that parochial schools do. So I understand that aspect where some public schools feel a little bit disadvantaged because parochial schools can kind of go out and encourage students to come to their school, whereas that's not always the case for a public school. But I guess from my perspective, I think parochial schools have some advantages. Maybe that's one, but they also have disadvantages as well. And public schools have advantages that they don't have. Maybe deeper budgets. They might have a bigger area that they pull from, and they naturally get athletes that maybe they don't deserve. So I don't know. I think in the end, and when I say don't deserve, I guess what I mean by that is sometimes a great athlete will just fall into your lap. You didn't do anything. You just get somebody that's a generational talent. And because they're in your district or your school code, then you get them. And so I don't know. I don't come down on the mindset that parochial schools have some great inherent advantage. I think there may be some cases where where they do have a much bigger advantage. But in general, I think most parochial schools are kind of dealt with some positives, but they're also dealt with some negatives. I look at Pacelli here in Stevens Point, and it's not like they have some inherent advantage where they get to dominate in every aspect of sports that they play. They're competitive in some, and some years they're down. And in some years they don't have enough to field the team, and that's really tough for them. So I just don't buy into parochial schools should get booted into their own league. I think they deal with the hand that they're given, and they do the best they can, just like any public school would. That's my take.
I'm just be honest with you. I mean, I agree 100% with what you just said.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I try to tell people, because it goes up and down.
It does.
It's like, sometimes, but when a team has, like, I remember when Racine St. Catharines were just like, holy cow,
yes.
Are they getting these great players? And then all of a sudden it disappeared. And then Dominican had these great players for a few years, and then it just kind of disappeared. Those things it's just, you know what I mean? It's just kind of the way it is. Again, we're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. So it's pretty tough to just shoehorn everybody into that one category.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, in sports today drives high schools. I mean, you look at a Schwaben who's kind of stuck, right? They can't build. They're kind of hamstrung.
They're landlocked.
So when their football team was back, oh man, and it's been a while. But when their football team was churning out state championships, their enrollment was going up. And people
like
don't
when
understand
they had Aaron Stecker and
people
like that,
exactly.
Who then played in the pros for 10 years.
So people don't understand that your sports drives everything. So you look at Notre Dame. Or if I had an eighth grader who was an excellent girl eighth grade basketball player, I'd want them to go to Notre Dame. They're the top division. I mean, they're all moving on to college.
Yeah,
they're playing under a great coach. They're winning state championships. So, like you said, it's the ebb and flow. The only thing I don't understand is, so we're Bayport and we play Notre Dame, we play West De Pere, and we play Pulaski, and then we'll play at Division I teams. I always felt those Division II teams, like your West De Peres, have an advantage because they play D1 talent all year. They might get beat a little bit, but then for the state, they go run with the D2s. And I always thought that was a huge advantage for them versus a D1 school that's playing D2 talent. And we've all been beat by D2. That's not the big deal. But Bayport goes on to play Kimberly, Arrowhead. I mean, the monsters. And I always felt an advantage for those D2 schools. And they go back down and play their own size school.
Well, I did some real estate over the last 5 years. And I remember showing this young family, and they had this great place, and they loved the house. And the guy called me and said, "Hey, John, we're not going to take it." I'm like, "Really?" I said that this was perfect. He goes, "No, I just found out it's not in the Kimberly school district, and I want my son to play football for Kimberly."
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay. So, there are a lot of different factors that go in. When you've got a winning program, you don't have to go after them. Sometimes they come after you, no matter who you are or where you are.
Right. Well, that's why we call it the University of Kimberly. I mean, someone's got to knock them down. Someone's got to knock them off their little perch there.
What's funny about that you talk about the ebb and flow. When I lived in Kimberly, this was a number of years ago, back in 06 to 09. they weren't bad, don't get me wrong, but Kimberly football wasn't the powerhouse that it is today.
No, not at all.
And Steve Jones, my college teammate, built that program from pretty much the ground up. He built that all the way to be what it is today. And now they're just they're just continuing that tradition of excellence. So to your point, the ebb and flow happens. It's not like they just walked in and this was just some amazing thing. They kind of built it, and now it's turned into this. It's the big life that attracts all the insects, right? They want to be part of it.
I have all the respect in the world for Steve Jones. All the respect in the world for that man. You talk about just a gentleman who did it right and whatever, and it's like I think the world of him.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome guy.
But you look at the money being spent on the high school level. I mean, Kimberly built a 50-yard indoor facility. Then West De Pere built a 75-yard indoor facility. Now, rumor has it, we've talked about Bayport. Are they going to go all in for 100? I mean, the money being spent on sports is through the roof now because they understand the demographics of what happens. Look at, the family you want to sell a home to.
Yeah.
Could have sold them a perfectly good home, but they wanted to be in Kimberly.
It's huge. There's no question about it. But you have to think about this, and I hate to throw this word out there, but it's status, it's prestige, it's ego. The media is so big. I mean, so many years ago, both you guys remember this, picking up the Green Bay Press Gazette or whatever, that was the bulk of the media coverage. I mean, we'd do some feature stories on TV and, this nice kid who, scored his 1,000th point from Crivets or whatever. And, that was the bulk of it. But now with social media, everything is so big and people follow that so hard that as far as like the status of these kids, I mean, I've had so many people, young coaches, tell me, I don't know if I can handle this because all the parents come. It'd be like the ninth person on the bench, and it's like, well, our goal is for that person to have a college scholarship, and you're not giving them enough media coverage. I mean, they would get on the media because they don't build their kids up enough. So I know exactly what you're saying in regards to the way it used to be versus now, where the parents have gotten so involved. It's incredible.
Well, there's the minute you touch a ball after 7th grade, you're going to get an NCSA email. So they're going to promise you for $500 they can land you a college, and then somebody else is going to talk to you. And then it's you have Twitter page, you have. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, back in the day, I got a letter from
that aspect of it. I sympathize with high school coaches right now, like you cannot believe.
Oh, and then it's an open door policy, no matter what time of day.
Yeah.
I mean, in that I don't understand. I've respected the coaches that have coached my kids, and I've coached myself, but I've never coached my own kids. And I've always just been like, man, parents ruin sports.
I go back, and again, I'm 100 years old, but I go back to my old football coach at Negaunee High School, Dick Koski, who was a tough son of a gun. And I'd never forget, one time I had Jerry Glanville on my radio show. He had played some football at Northern Michigan. And I said, Jerry, one of your teammates was my high school football coach. He goes, who is that? I said, Dick Koski. He goes, whoa, that guy was a stone cold killer. I would not mess with that man. And that was my high school football coach from Wakefield, Michigan. And he had a policy. If any parent ever called him to complain about their kid's playing time, the kid would not play. Didn't matter if he was a superstar, didn't matter who he is, just so you know, you won't play. The next guy in line will play instead of you. Let your parents know that. Now, he said, if there's a reason, if the parent was like, is he doing something wrong? Is he screwing up? Just tell me, coach. But if it was just to complain about playing time, nope, you're out. And somehow we've lost that over the years.
Yeah.
Because I think the coaches don't have the support of administration in a lot of cases. Am I right?
100%. That coach would be walked out tomorrow.
Right.
And instead of the administration backing the coach, everybody, like my wife's a teacher, everybody backs the parents. The teacher's always wrong. And it's like, what happened?
Yeah. No, hey, I'm a teacher too, so I'm not going to go down that path too much, but I'm telling you, some of the emails that I get are, it's never Johnny's fault. Johnny's always perfect. And why'd you screw stuff up? I mean, I don't understand it. It's like, well, like I had one recently. It was like, well, they needed more time. I said, well, the assignment takes one day to do. I gave them 2 full work days in class, and I told them every day that it was due on Friday. and he didn't turn it in on time. Well, why is it going to get a late penalty? Because it was late and he had plenty of time to do it in class. It's like, why are you arguing with me on this? It's just like, I just don't understand what is going on. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. It's like I'm trying to, and that's what I said. I'm trying to teach your kid for the real world that deadlines matter, and it's going to be a problem at some point. And it just, I don't know. It's like it goes right over the head. Like I don't know. They just,
isn't that
I don't
crazy?
get it.
And that just, elevates the kid where it's like, well, my parents think it's okay, so who are you to say it's not?
Exactly.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And I'm a huge believer in parentals need to be involved and they need to be part of their kids' learning. And so that's where it's frustrating because I want the parent to be involved, but I also want them to be somewhat supportive. And if they have a question about what I'm teaching and they hey, why are you teaching? Right. I'm okay with that. I want them involved. I'm not saying parents should not be involved in the educational process. I just think that they need to also be supportive in the process as well. But,
totally agree. Totally agree. I have all the respect in the world for teachers and administrators and coaches these days. All the respect in the world.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. More for my kid. I couldn't. My Italian temper wouldn't handle it. I'd get fired so quick. It's unbelievable. First phone call I ever got. Who the bleep are you to tell me? Yeah, it wouldn't work.
I've seen all the jobs you've done. You could do anything, I think, John.
No, trust me. Mr. Mino, we can't respond to people that way. We're going to have to ask you to leave. So, yeah, it would happen.
Never even took your coat off.
Never even took the coat off.
The other one, with college sports is NIL. I mean, this is way out of hand. Isn't that crazy? You look at FAU basketball. The coach came out and said they're already tampering with his players. He's not even out of the tournament yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think NIL is going to kill college sports.
Well, it's not going to be college the way that we knew it. I mean, college the way that we knew it. Listen, I know there were people who got paid under the table and things like that, but generally speaking, you played for different reasons. I think, and that's I would agree that there is some issue, but to be fair, I think that they also let it get out of hand a little bit with the coach's side too. It was pretty tough to say to a kid hey, you get to go to school for free, which don't get me wrong is very valuable, but we're also going to pay this coach, $8 million a year. I think at some level it kind of got out of balance, and that's where there was this. Then it was kind of hard to say, well, they shouldn't be getting anything, and this person's going to get a ton. And not only that, but then the coach could leave at any moment. He could do whatever he wanted. There was no restriction. And I think it was hard for them to justify saying to the player, well, you can't, if you're going to transfer, you have to sit out a year, and then you're going to have to abide by all these rules. But the coach can do whatever they want. It's like
Jeremy, that has been one of my mantras for so many years. It's like these kids are so tied into these quote unquote contracts with their scholarships, but these coaches that recruit them who tell their parents, "Hey, I'm gonna overlook everything this young man or young woman does. We got educators here, we got counselors, we got the whole thing. We're gonna look after them academically, nutritionally, every aspect of them. If they sign with us, it's like bringing my own son into the program." And literally 6 months later, it's like, oh, hey, see you guys. Boom. And they're gone. And these kids are left just hanging in the wind. I think that's terrible. I've always thought that was a terrible situation.
Yeah.
I think the NCAA had a great opportunity to even it. The playing field.
Did I chase Toby off?
Completely.
Okay.
No,
that happens.
Yeah.
It's my style.
But I just saying the NCAA.
So you were a teammate of Steve Jones?
Yes, I was. I'm worried that maybe we lost Toby here. Did you lose him, John?
Yes, I did. I lost him.
Okay, yeah. All right. So Toby, maybe you'll have your restart. But I was a teammate of Steve Jones. Fun fact about Steve Jones: he actually was my college teammate when I was a freshman. Well, I was technically not a freshman, but it was my first year on the football team. That was at Stevens Point.
Stevens Point. Okay.
Yep. And so then my first year, he was the starting wide receiver / tight end. And then he graduated, and then he came back and he was my position coach right after that. So I got to play with him. I got to be coached by him. He was, you could tell right away, he was a tough coach as well, right? I mean, having to transition from a player to then coaching the same players that you actually were part of, it was his position.
A teammate, sure.
Yeah, you could tell he definitely had the chops for it right away, and I have the utmost respect for Steve. We weren't always super close, but I have a ton of respect for him, just because, and I've seen
I
him now
agree.
here and there, and I've gotten to connect with him a little bit. We kind of fell out of distance for a while, and then I got to get back in touch with him last year. I have so much respect for what he's done from afar, and now my other college teammate is coaching the Washington Cougars, which is Jake Dickert. He was on my practice squad with me, so he
Who's
was such a,
that?
yeah, he was such an awesome guy too. Just a great kid, and now he's turned into an awesome coach as well. So I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by some pretty awesome people um, in my life. So oh no, um,
I think I
You got
lost you
me?
yeah, I
there.
got you back, but now I'm worried that we lost John.
2, 1 in the audience.
There we go, John. Are you back? Perfect. Yeah. So been pretty lucky to have a lot of different really cool people in my life, and I'm excited to see Steve go off and do his own thing now. Bummed that he's not coaching anymore because he was so much fun to watch coaching, but he's being so successful in his own life and what he's accomplished. So it's really good to see that, and good to see Jake doing really well in his own endeavors as well, being a very successful coach. I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him at Washington. Um, so yeah, that's been really great. I actually was by myself here for a little bit, so welcome back, Toby.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect. No
Here
worries. Hey,
comes John.
sometimes you just got to hit.
Wow, the band is back together. Outstanding.
I tell you,
Nice.
John, the studio is being painted, so we're kind of doing this on the
Ah,
fly.
no problem.
I'm not gonna.
This is
When it was
great.
just myself there for a second, I was like, I'm gonna have to keep talking here.
You know what? Larry McCarron and I always had a theory or a little saying.
Yep.
When we'd be doing live shows, like at a bar, the bar in Green Bay or Stadium View or places like that in front of a live audience, and you're just up there by yourself in front of all these people, and you're just waiting on that guest. And the next 60 minutes depends on just you talking or that guest. And we always had a thing. It's like, Larry, it's 2 minutes before showtime. You got two choices. The Venus Swimwear Model of the Year just walked through the door, or the backup long snapper just walked through the door. Who are you going to hug? It's me. I'm going to hug that long snapper because I don't have to fill dead air for an hour, because that is one of the worst feelings in the world. So I'm with you guys on that.
That's really funny.
Larry McCarron and I always have that saying. Yep.
That's really funny.
So,
That's
yeah.
great. You know what's funny? We're trying to have on somebody from the WIA because we had some questions about recruiting, and we were talking to him. And I remember, I think it was back on your show with Vince.
Oh,
And I
boy.
was telling Jeremy. Well, no, but you said that I think it was the WIA was standing in an ivory tower, peeing on the heads of us and telling us it's raining. And that
I
has
said
stuck
that?
with me. You
Are you
said
sure
that
I said
years ago.
that?
Um,
Wow, that does not sound like me.
And that has stuck with me for 20 years. It's been, I don't know why, but it's just, and I think, we were talking about NCAA, and I think the WI is in the same case. I understand there's rules, but they can't seem to come around a corner at all without just being blinders on. There are things that happen, and me and Jeremy talked about this, is there's always a football player that transfers and somebody doesn't turn in the right paperwork, and it
Yeah.
affects the whole team, right? You don't make the playoffs because a lady in an office didn't send in the paperwork, and instead of just maybe doing some digging and finding out, all right, it was a mistake.
Right.
They cancel the season. They shut it down, and you start to be disgruntled, which sounds like you were years ago, I'm going to be honest, about organizations that run things. And it's, and I know they do a lot of great things, but you only hear about the bad things. And I think, and that's where it just gets frustrating, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Anyway, and I'm not going to sit here and just harp over all the years. I mean, there are a lot of different incidents that just bothered me where a player would do something really egregious, and I don't even want to get into the specific things about him, and he would just be like a pat on the back. And then, like you're saying, there'd be an administrative error, and the player was severely penalized, where he had nothing to do with it. Somebody administration-wise just like, oh, well, I made a mistake, and, this kid's not going to play again or whatever.
Yeah.
Versus this kid that did something, very bad.
Yep.
And he was still, oh, well, it's okay now. You'll do better. Those were the kinds of things that really bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I went to my uncle played for Nebraska, came out of Green Bay West, and we went
football.
Down. Football. Jerry Weed.
Jerry Weed is your uncle? You've got to be kidding me. So
No.
Jason's your cousin.
Jason and Tony and Katie are my cousins.
Wow.
I was doing the St. Norbert football games when Jerry was an assistant coach with them.
Okay.
Oh, Jerry and I go way back.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we could talk. Okay, we could sit here. We could talk from entree football for a long time. I have to be honest with you.
Right?
Wow. So did he go there with Anderson and Taggy and that bunch? Yeah.
Yep.
That was the heyday of Green Bay West football.
Oh, 100%. They all went on to Nebraska, or quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And he took me down, and we watched Nebraska play Florida in the championship. It was the Fiesta Bowl. And I remember Lawrence
Orange
Phillips.
Bowl.
Orange Bowl. 2 weeks after he threw his girlfriend down the stairs, should have been arrested. And here comes Lawrence Phillips.
Oh, and that one, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Football. Yeah. And I'm like, how is this possible?
Yes. Yes. And Tom Osborne said, well, we feel like he'd be better taken care of under our control than if he was, let loose or whatever. Totally remember that. Those are the kinds of things that drive me crazy. But then again, some innocent kid, some administrator screws something up and they're penalized. I agree with you 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, those were the WIA things that really bothered me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into specific things, but I know you guys remember every single one we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Funny thing was, that trip I met Bill Cosby in the parking lot, so it was full of criminals.
Okay, that's a bizarre story, Toby.
Yeah, Toby.
I mean, we'll talk about that off camera sometime if you want, and just go from there. And I'm here for you.
When the cards are down out of me, Lawrence Phillips, and Bill Cosby, I feel pretty good about myself.
Great. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a whole other podcast. I'm going to start that one up myself. Oh, that's awesome.
So did
Jerry Weed? Oh, he's legendary. What a great man.
So you met?
Yes, saw him a couple weeks ago.
Did you meet Lawrence Phillips on that trip with Bill Cosby? Oh, I was going to say
no, but I wasn't. I was in an elevator with all the Florida cheerleaders, and I'll be honest, not one of them asked my name or my number.
Wow, surprising.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that had to be a moment to remember, though.
You didn't pull out the "How you doing?"
Right. Where's the weight room, ladies?
Hey, how you doing? You ever been to Wisconsin? I'm telling you, it's something else. Come up to Green Bay sometime. I'll take you to Kroll's. You ever have cheese curds? Unbelievable. Hold on. They're unbelievable. Eh? Come on. Bring it up here. Oh, my goodness.
That's funny.
Yeah. Now, do you get back to the UP? I mean, because you were around with Tom Izzo and Mariucci in those days?
Well, they were a couple years ahead of me.
Okay.
So I was a sophomore in high school, and our high school basketball team ended their basketball career. Nagani knocked off Iron Mountain in the UP finals, and that was Mariucci and Izzo's last year. And I remember, and I was a big fan of NMU football. Big fan. I used to go to spring practices just by myself and stand up on the top shelf of what was the Memorial Field, and watch them. And I just remember this one kid from Iron Mountain that I remembered in high school, and all he ever did was hold a clipboard and just hold a clipboard and hold a clipboard and hold a clipboard. And that was Steve Mariucci.
Wow.
And I've talked to Steve about that. I said, Steve, I remember I never saw you practice. I go, what string were you? He says, well, I started out 7th. And then it got up to 5th, and then whatever. And he said, I called my dad. I said, Dad, I got to go. I said, I'm never going to play here. And his dad said, well, then pack your bags and get a bus ticket, because I'm not going to pick you up. You have to make your own way home. I'm not going to, for a quitter, I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
He's like, geez. So he stuck it out, and a couple of kids got hurt. and they were highly recruited kids, but he got his chance, and I remember going to their game. I was a senior in high school, and I went to maybe all of their home games, and they went 0-12 that year, I believe it was. They didn't win a game. And I don't remember him playing at all. And then I went away to college, and then it's like, what? I can't believe this, how this team is winning all of a sudden. This is unbelievable. They were literally the worst team in the nation for Division II as it was back then, and now they're the top. And it's a remarkable story. It really and truly is. But I'll tell you one story. I told Steve one time. I said, hey, am I wrong? Or was Tommy Izzo a pretty good football player in high school? And he says, yeah, Tommy was really great. And I said, did he try out? He says, I finally convinced him one spring to come out. And they're put him at like flanker, slot type of guy, like a Wes Welker, those kind of guys. And he said they weren't supposed to be hitting, but they had this strong safety from Detroit who transferred from Central Michigan. Alex Maslamani was his name, about 6'2", 215. And Tommy came across the middle, and Alex just laid him out. And Tommy basically said, I'm never playing football again.
Oh, no.
Why did you even ask me to do this? But he said he thought it would be great that when Steve was a quarterback and Tommy was going to be the flanker. But he said he got laid. I mean, Tommy was 5'8", maybe 160, maybe. But he was a great high school football. So when people see this feistiness of him all the time on the sidelines, like, well, he's an old football player, a little Italian from the UP. They were feisty guys. So, that's him. So he didn't lose. The thing I like about Tom, he never lost his true meaning. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Like even with me in broadcast, not to brag or anything, but just be yourself.
Be yourself.
Be who you are. Don't try to be some other person. I mean, you guys have done that in coaching and everything like that. You don't try to, you might, gain wisdom or techniques or whatever. But the true you in dealing with people, that has to be the true you from your heart. That's the only way you're ever going to be legitimate.
Yeah, it's got to be authentic. That is very, very true.
It's got to be authentic.
Yep.
Because I'll tell you what, especially these days, people spot phonies quicker than ever.
Yeah. And
you can. I was going to say, you can do research on a person in 2 seconds too. I mean, you just can't make stuff up anymore.
I was going to say too, you told that Steve Mariucci story where he's 7th string and he calls his dad. I just think about that story today. If that were the case, what would that conversation with a parent be like if somebody called up and said, hey, I'm thinking about leaving because of, not getting my chance or opportunity? I'm fairly confident they wouldn't have said, buy your own bus ticket home.
No, it'd be like, okay, let me call the coach. I'll take care of this.
Yep, right. Exactly.
And if the coach doesn't take care of it, I'll call the athletic director or the school president.
Yeah.
Whole different world.
You have, yes.
Yep. Whole different world.
Yeah, it's too bad because think about what that did. As you tell those stories, think about what that did for Steve's career. And then you think about the experience that Tom had and how that shaped his career, which then led him to be really successful. And it led Steve to be really successful. And I just think about all the stories I hear, like Michael Jordan getting cut from his high school team. Sometimes you need that adversity in your life to make you a better person, a better player, a better coach. And we're so scared to let our kids go through that. And as a parent, I understand that. And I have to check myself to step back and be like, I'm going to let my kid fail, because that might be the best thing that ever happened to them, is to fall flat on their face and utterly fail. And that could be really, really beneficial for their life. As painful as it is to watch them go through it, painful as it is as a parent to see it, you don't want to see it, but it might be the best thing that ever happened to them.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Could not agree more. I'm a firm believer you learn a lot more from adversity than you do from success. No question about it.
It just sucks, but that's life.
It sucks. It hurts. It's painful at the time. There's not any question about it. I know.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer in that. And I hate that it has to be that way, but it's true.
But it's just life. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting when that's a really fascinating story. I'm glad you shared it.
Yeah. And Steve shared it with me several times. So it's totally legit.
And I will say, I've met Steve, and he is a down to earth guy. I mean,
oh yeah.
He was doing, I think, the Monday night or the Thursday night at Lambeau, the part of the announcers or whatever. And we got a chance to meet him, and Marshall Falk never looked up, but Mariucci couldn't have been more just happy to be there talking football, and he was all about it.
I'll tell you a quick story. When we were at the Super Bowl in Dallas, 2010, 11,
10.
And it was media day. So, it's just a mob. It's just crazy. And I'll be honest with you. I've covered a lot of sporting events. There's nothing I enjoyed less than covering a Super Bowl because it's just such a mob
Yeah,
thing.
I suppose.
It's not what people think. Everybody thinks, oh, wow, you got to cover a Super Bowl. It's not fun. But anyway, so then afterwards, there's a little lunchroom where people would come up and, just grab sandwiches and media room and everything. Well, Steve Mariucci was sitting at a table. So a couple of guys started interviewing him over their phones, to call back to their stations. And Steve being, he could have turned them all down and say, media time's over. But he's talking. So I kind of get in the mix. I lean in and I put my phone up and I ask him a question. He goes, Yooper, holy crap. That phone, where'd you buy that? Ishpeming? That's the oldest phone. You still got flip phones in Ishpeming? Oh my God. Look at this guy. And it's live there. That's the oldest phone I've ever seen. You got the oldest phone at the Super Bowl. Nobody else has a flip phone at the Super Bowl. Only a Yooper would have a flip phone at the Super Bowl. What do you need to know? But that was Steve. Yeah. Just a down-to-earth guy.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yep.
But I was going to say the UP, Shane Buchar, he's my age out of Houghton. He's coaching Northern Arizona Lumberjacks now. He's a basketball coach.
Right.
Good friend of mine up in Houghton, Corey Markham, just lost the state. They lost at the state hockey. But did you see Munising get it done this year?
Munising has never been good in basketball. Munising was always that team that you just W. They have never been good in basketball. I don't know what they did. I congratulate them. My brother-in-law was the head football coach there for a lot of years and won a state championship in football in the early 80s. And that was their high point in sports. But for them to win a state basketball championship against a team that was like a two-time state defending champion, if I'm not mistaken. And I used to work in Flint, Michigan.
Oof.
I did sports down there. Oh, but amazing sports. I still say one of the greatest athletic teams I've ever seen in my life was Flint Northwestern when I was there, because they had three guys on their basketball team that became first-round draft picks in the pros. Okay, Jeff Grayer was the number 1 draft pick by the Milwaukee Bucks, played for Iowa State, and was on the U.S. Olympic team. Okay, Glenn Rice, who was basically an NBA Hall of Famer, and Andre Rison was the point guard on that basketball team.
Rison?
I mean, you want to talk about talent.
Wow.
So that was one basketball team. 3 guys. They're all number 1 draft picks in professional sports on one high school basketball team. So some of those teams in Lower Michigan are so loaded with athletes. So for a UP team, I don't care what level it is, I don't care what class, to come down and win a state championship is incredibly impressive.
Wow.
It really and truly is.
Well, I always like the fact that they still hold true to the UP. They still have the UP sectionals.
Yeah,
and then
regionals.
You win the regionals, and then you move down state. And I just thought that. So otherwise, if they combined it, it would be a disaster for them.
Yeah.
It would. Yeah, I think that's because that's such a thrill for the kids. I remember, Kevin Borseth, head basketball coach at UWGB. Kevin was telling about the time when they went downstate when he was in high school, and the student manager was on the bus. He was so excited they went over the Mackinac Bridge, and he's looking around, and he's running to the back of the bus, and he's coming back, and Kevin goes, "What's the matter with you?" He goes, "We're the skyscrapers." He just assumed that everything in Lower Michigan was Detroit. He didn't know that it was, but that's the way it used to be in the UP. I mean, it was just like there's the UP, which is the UP,
oh my
and then
gosh,
there's Lower Michigan, which so many people just thought of as Detroit, where everything was the big industrial thing. So it was always a big thrill for those kids to go downstate.
Well, I tell you, we drove from Marquette for spring break down to Daytona Beach, and we got to the Michigan-Indiana border, and I think we were halfway. It took us forever.
I can't believe you made that drive.
It was terrible.
That's like literally going cross country. That's literally going from California to New York.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's incredible.
I was so excited. I'm like, we're halfway, and I'm like, wait, there's Indiana.
Hey, can I just ask you one personal question, though? When you get on that beach, were you people the whitest guys on the beach?
So Northern Michigan does their spring break in February 28th, and there was 5 guys, and everybody is like, "Holy crap! Like you guys need sunscreen." Just what? And I burn no matter what. But yeah, it was ugly. It was so bad. Like we're like,
But I think in those days the chicks dug that, right?
well, not me, maybe. But it was, Daytona Beach in February is not exactly.
No, it's
80
not.
degrees.
It's not that warm. No.
It was like 52 degrees, and we are out there playing beach volleyball like it's Top Gun, and everybody else is in jackets. They're like, I'm like, it's -10 where we're coming from. This is amazing.
Did you have jeans on, no shirt, but wore a wristwatch?
Playing with the boys is on in the background.
Exactly.
I'm not going to deny that.
I can see
That's
it.
amazing.
Oh God, that's funny. Yeah, you know.
I know. Trust me. I've been there. I was that guy.
No, you hit it on it though. When you go down to Florida, I remember one year we were at Disney actually, and I think it was 50 degrees, but at home it was like -30. So we're like, and then one day it rolled up to like 60 degrees. I'm like, it was almost 100-degree difference between Wisconsin and we're walking around in like t-shirts, and my good friend who lives down there is in a winter coat. He's like, this is freezing. We're like, this is awesome.
Absolutely. That's exactly how it was. When I went to school at Arizona State, it was that same thing. I'd be out there like that, tank top or whatever, and other people are wearing sweaters and pullovers and everything. It's like, it's 52 degrees and it's February. This is awesome.
This is great.
Yep. So I was exactly that guy.
That's awesome.
Well, we touched on it last week. We were talking about, spring sports and how like Bayport had to plow their field today.
Yeah.
Right.
Football field to play. And you tell people, we struggle because of snow. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, how are you not just like, why do you live there?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know.
I remember track season, my freshman year at Negaunee, track season. And I might be the worst track athlete in the history of America. I was in the 440. Back in those days, it was yards. Okay. So 440. And what they would do, Toby, I don't know if you remember that stretch to Memorial Gym by Teal Lake to get to Memorial Gym. Okay.
Yep.
So our coach somehow with his car figured out exactly what 440 yards would be on his mileage thing. So that's where we did all of our runs on snowbanks are 6 feet high, maybe more. Tony, I'm not exaggerating, have I? 6 feet high on both sides, the wind just whipping off the lake, running out there in the big sweats, the baggy kind of sweats and everything like that. Oh my God. It was the most, I don't think we did a track. I don't think we got on the track until May because I don't think all the snow left until at least May. So we really had like about a 3-week season on a track. People don't realize that the UP, how unbelievable those late season winters are. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, our last day of college, my sophomore year, we were leaving and we had a party and we put the barrels in the snow.
Yeah,
like it was May 10th and we didn't need ice because we're just like put them in the snowbank. And sure enough, and I tell people every year at Northern, you lose a kid to hypothermia and you lose a kid over the break wall on Lake Superior, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yes,
like,
isn't that tragic?
All the time.
I was there. We were there this past summer. I took my wife and my son, and they got a plaque there about students from NMU, about how that happens. And people don't realize Lake Superior is you don't mess with Lake Superior. And if you're not from up there, you think about Lake Michigan or whatever. It's like, whatever. Lake Superior is evil if you don't respect it. Yeah. Scary place.
Kills one student a year. They walk out there and they try to, and
really?
The wave comes over the top and they're gone.
Oh, yeah. Sweeps them in. It's just, boom, they're gone. It's terrible. It's unbelievable.
That's horrible.
Or they try to swim out to Picnic Rocks.
We never did.
But some people do.
Oh, yeah. They try, and it's,
I
mean, it's not like it's 70 degrees. It's the high of 50, maybe. Yeah. A big body of water.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
Nope. That is crazy.
But fun place to live up there. Otherwise.
It was the only place that I remember where school would be canceled because nobody could go to class and every bar in Marquette would be full.
Just ridiculous. I had a good friend of mine. I had a good friend, Wayne Stiegelman. I don't know if you know Wayne from Crivets. He played football at Northern. And he was talking about that with all the football players. They'd have these unbelievable snowball battles, like vicious, in the winter. And one time I said, "Did you ever get hurt in football?" He goes, "Well, not really in football, but the time I got hit by a snowplow." I'm like, What? He goes, oh, yeah, this one gang of football players versus our gang. And I was running over the thing, and I didn't know a snowplow was coming. It hit me and threw me up into the bank.
Oh, my gosh.
But I tried getting back to him. We got into his house, and we rigged up a lamp with the cord and put some water on a street sign that we stole. So if once he stepped on and turned on the light, he would get electrocuted. It's like, what did you guys do at Northern? He said, oh, my God, we made our own fun. He said it was just incredible what we used to do.
Oh, my goodness.
Incredible up there. But he said the same thing. You had to. It's like that was part of the culture. You got to create your own entertainment.
The year I got there in 92 and 91, they won the NCAA hockey championships, national champions, and they burned down a frat house. I mean, they ruined it for the rest of us because they took away on-campus drinking, and they really tamed it down because of that, which was sad because I was looking.
Wow, I never knew that. Was that Don Waddell in that era? Is that one of the names?
One of the players.
But they burned down a frat house?
Yeah, and I guess they took the beer out and they sat outside and they sang songs as they tried to put the fire out.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. I did not know that. Okay.
And then I remember we were at a party at the football house and a football player wanted the house empty and nobody would leave. So he came out and he put 2 12-gauge shotgun rounds in the ceiling. And I'm like, time to go.
That frowned upon.
Wow.
Should I not have done
the snow
that?
makes you a little batty.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm not at Promontory anymore.
No, different ball game.
Different ball game up there. Yeah, a little bit of a wild place. Yeah.
Wow.
Jeremy was like that at Stevens Point.
Oh, man, I only went to a couple house parties and nothing like that ever happened. So I don't remember anything like that.
There were no Yoopers there.
That's right.
It's true. Actually, I don't think we had any Yoopers on the team. Now that you mention it, we had a lot of boys from small town Wisconsin, but no Yoopers.
I will say one thing, just to digress a little bit. That conference, though, Stevens Point, Oshkosh, Platteville, Whitewater, Stout, that whole thing. People don't realize how good that conference is.
It's really good.
I mean, there's a lot of really good high school athletes that go to those schools.
It's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, it is. Now, are you referring to the WWII or are you referring to the high school?
Yeah.
The WWII.
No, the WWII.
Yeah, no, the WWII is. I mean, you think about lacrosse is really good. Whitewater's a perennial. Oshkosh has been good the last few years. I mean, there's a lot, and nationally competitive too. I mean, I think where the WWII gets really frustrated is they feel like because it's a private school in a division of Division III, which is generally. Public universities in a Division III is generally private. They don't always get some of the love because I think a lot of the private schools are kind of like, hey, you guys have way too many people in your schools comparatively to us, and so they almost kind of pass over the WWII sometimes. Like you get to send one team, but
I've never understand, Jeremy. I've heard that, but I never understand that. What difference does it make if you have 12,000 kids who are majoring in, environmental science and doing whatever,
right,
versus, 60 kids that want to play football? I've never understood that argument because I've heard that too.
I don't get it either because, you look at a school, the one when I played was Mount Union. They were really good out of Ohio. They were so good.
Oh my God, legendary.
They weren't very big as far as a school, but they literally had 200 kids on their football team. I mean, they were stacked. And we were always like, why are you guys crapping on the WWII about how our talent levels and that our school sizes are so big and that we should only have one school represented in the playoffs? But you've got this school that's got 200 kids on their football team. They've got a full
like St. John's of Minnesota.
And St. John's of Minnesota. I mean, a great coach, obviously, from there. But I just never understood that either because, again, back to our further comment, I think some schools have different advantages. We had enrollment, but they also had the ability to have a little. They were known as kind of a football school, and kids would go there to maybe be a pipeline to Ohio State or to wherever. So I don't know. They had their advantages. They had some disadvantages. We had disadvantages. We had some advantages. But I never understood why the WWII kind of got this reputation like, hey, they should only get one school for the playoffs because there have been times like where Whitewater was really good and Oshkosh was right there with them, or lacrosse was right there with them. And then they'd get left out of the playoffs. And it's like, how are you going to leave one of the best teams in the country out of the playoffs just because they went to the same conference? It doesn't make any sense.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
Totally agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. But yeah, it's a very good.
Well, I remember when I was doing the St. Norbert football games, we went down, the first game was against Whitewater. And just standing on the sidelines before the game, it's like, whoa, these guys aren't built like our guys. I mean, Whitewater had
They're legit
athletes like I'd never seen for that level before. I mean, all their defensive ends were 6'4", 245. Their linebacker was 6'3", 245. And it's just like, whoa.
They're big dudes.
I mean, those schools got some athletes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it helps being where they're kind of sandwiched in between Chicago and Milwaukee. That really helps because, if the kid maybe they had an issue or they couldn't go to a bigger school. So it's like, hey, we're going to go in and really make an impact and be able to get to start right away and make tape for themselves to maybe jump to another school. I think they're positioned in a really good spot, but that hasn't stopped other schools from being really competitive with them. So I just give them a lot of credit. I think they've done a really nice job, Whitewater, of capitalizing on what the positives that they had going for their school.
Well, I'll tell you one of the great things for Oshkosh. I mean, Toby, I think this a couple of years ago they knocked off Northern Michigan. So you had a D3 non-scholarship school knocking off a full scholarship school. I mean, I think that says something about that conference right there. No, they're good.
Plus the facilities at Whitewater. I mean, they've put some money into those. I think, and I'll be honest, I think I came down to that game, John, that Whitewater Norbert game. Was Todd Borowski coaching?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Todd pretty well. I think I wrote down
what year was that?
Todd was one of my all-time great friends. Yeah, or still is. Yeah.
Man.
But you remember that game? How much just bigger and more physical, and that was a good St. Norbert team for their conference. But it's like, holy cow! There's a little bit of a difference right here.
Yeah, because the head coach, who's the head coach in Norbert at that time?
Jim Purtell.
Jim Purtell. I had a beer with Jim at I went to one of the after parties at the bar, and it's funny because I remember him telling me, I'm like, how great is it coaching college? You don't deal with parents. You're a college coach. And he's like, hold up a second. He goes, I still get phone calls of parents bitching about playing time. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're a national contender every year, and you're dealing with Joey's parents, who's 14th on the bench. He goes, all the time.
All the time. Yeah. I'll tell you what, that guy had an offensive mind that was really exceptional for Till.
He did. Where did he go? Did he go on to coach?
He did somewhere. I'm not sure where. He just kind of faded out, but he was really ahead of his time with his offenses. I mean, he's one of those guys, the only guy, I used to do I'm not trying to sound weird, but the Lindy Infante show. So when you're doing something like that, you really look at film closer than, to try to pick out things, and it's like, every play he designed, somebody would be open. Now, the quarterback had to be able to read it right and know who it was, and the line had to be able to block it enough to, give him time. But he was so sharp that somehow with every defense, there'd be one person against that defense that would be open. And Jim Purtell had that same thing. But he was a little bit ahead of his game. I mean, you need all the other parts. You need a really sharp quarterback, and he had good quarterbacks. But it's like there are some guys that just analytically are above the game, and Jim Purtell was one of those guys.
Yeah, and then he brought in Chris Howard. Remember Chris, defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
He was fantastic. Yeah, that program ran for so long on winning.
Yeah, my brother-in-law was the linebackers coach.
Okay, and then they'd run into the Johnnies. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one year, I think they got knocked off by, was it Stevens Point?
Yeah, that's
one of those teams. But they make it to the playoffs, and that was a big step for them. But yeah, there was a couple of different levels of D3 football. And St. Norbert, I honestly thought once they improved their facilities, which were not good, back then, and now they're just beautiful, just amazing. And I thought that would like elevate them, but it just quite hasn't for some reason.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah, I don't know why. But, you got to remember, though, I mean, my son graduated from St. Norbert College a couple of years ago, and I'll tell you what, our college tuition fees are, whew, wow, incredible. So, I mean, yeah.
It's
you're competing against that.
I joked with Chris Howard because he took the head coach at Lawrence football, and I'm like, trying to teach music kids that pay $80,000 a year how to play football. I said, good luck.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I mean. You bet. You bet. That's exactly right.
He's like, if I can win 3 games, I'll be put in the Hall
John,
of Fame.
I wanted to ask you when I looked over all the things that you've done. You've covered NFL.
I mean,
I was telling Toby you got to see that you covered the cardiac pack because I saw you did the Lindy Infante.
I love that.
But has there been a team that you followed that was like throughout all the years that was more fun than the others? You know, that could be high school. Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah. That's my favorite season. That's like as a kid, I was 9 years old. I loved that season. Oh, Magic Man.
Well, there'd be 2 of them.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you. Okay. That's okay. If not just one, can I just split the hairs? Okay. One would be that 1989 Packers season. I mean, they won 4 games the year.
Yes. That was such a fun season, and then they lost out in the playoffs to the Vikings with a 10-6 record.
But because they've been so horrific the year before, and those games they won, and it's just there's something. There's certain years when somebody mentions a year, and somebody mentions to me 1989, I just almost get this warm feeling because
Amen.
That Packers season that year was just yes, against the Bears. Yeah.
Okay.
They had 2 different games. If somebody had, I forget who it was, if the Rams got beaten, somebody else, and they lost both. And then on Monday night, there was the big thing, if the Bengals beat the Vikings, and they didn't. I always hated Boomer Esiason since then because he couldn't beat the Vikings. They could have made the playoffs. Right. I mean, they beat San Francisco that year. Oh, my God. That was my favorite year. Well, it's got to be a tie. That was my favorite year of covering sports. And the tie of covering sports was a 1993-94 UWGB basketball season when, again, the year before they weren't that good, but it was like Jeff Nordgaard was a sophomore and everything. And we went to the NCAAs. We knocked off the University of California with Jason Kidd in the NCAAs and then played Syracuse really, really tough in that second round to go to the NCAAs or to the thing. I mean, that was like a team that nobody gave them any. They're just going to be average, whatever. And I heard stories later from one of the people from Cal that coach was so PO'd because a bunch of the players went out the night before and partied because they're just overlooking who's Green Bay, who's UW Green Bay. And boy, GB, they played that. That was one of the most memorable things in my entire life. So those 2 things, 89 Packers and 1994, March 17th, my birthday, 1994, UWG against University of California with Jason Kidd. Those are my 2 greatest memories in sports history. Yeah.
GB was so fun. We used to skip school when Tony Bennett. I've seen Tony Bennett when he was at Preble play at the old arena.
Yep.
He used to pack. He used
Wasn't the arena great, Toby?
I said
they lost something with the Resch Center. I hate to say it, but they lost something.
Right when they did high school,
the sectionals
at the arena.
Unbelievable.
You'd have
the energy was unbelievable.
Section would be like 5 feet apart from each other, and it was just we played St. Mary's Catholic, and they beat us on a last-second shot, and we were ready to fight everybody, and nobody did. But it was so awesome. That was the old wooden chairs, and the arena had it all.
That was Green Bay. I think. Okay, when we talk about the WIA, I'm going to bite my tongue. But I think they took away some of the great traditions for no reason. The sectionals at the Brown County Arena were one of the greatest things in Northeast Wisconsin. You had to stand in line to buy a ticket. It was amazing energy. It was wonderful. Everybody only had to drive like 30 miles to get there. And then all of a sudden they decided, we're going to hold them in Richland Center or so-and-so. And so it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like you got these 16-year-old kids that got their first driver's license, and now they're driving, in the middle of the night and then driving back to these desolate places. Ridiculous. The WIA screwed that up so bad, it's mind-boggling. And there is they could sit here for 20 minutes and give me their explanation, and it would be false.
Right. 100%.
Yep.
100%. Those were
Terrible.
the days. Yeah. Whether you win or
Wonderful
lost,
event
it
that
didn't
they
matter.
screwed up.
Yeah. And then you'd make it down to the Mecca because the parochial schools played. Did everybody play at the Mecca?
No, that
Wow.
was just WISA.
Just WISA. So we go down to the Mecca. And I actually went to the Fiserv last Wednesday night for a Bucks game and walked past the Mecca. That thing still looks great.
I remember being at the Mecca for high school basketball, and it was the best players there that year was John Martinez, that had a great career at UW Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Jim McIlvaine, who ended up at Marquette.
Marquette.
Tyrone Keys, that played at Marquette.
Was it Tyrone Keys or Damon Keys?
Or Damon Keys. I'm sorry, Damon Keys.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it was that year or the year before.
Yeah, no
great
worries.
guard from Kenosha St. Joe's, I believe. Nicky, he played in the NBA for a lot of years. Oh, was it Nicky Smith? He played in the end. He had a great NBA career, and he played at one of those schools. But it's like there were like 5 guys in that WISA tournament that ended up in the NBA,
Yeah.
or at least had a shot at the NBA.
Because Pennings won it.
Then Nicky Van something.
Really
Oh, it's
interesting.
going to drive me crazy. I'm going to Google that one.
But was that 91 when Pennings won it?
That was 89 when Pennings won it, because that was their
That's
last
right.
year of basketball. And they had Kevin Rankin, who had a great college career and then had about
Schneider.
6 tryouts in the pros, but never really made it in the NBA. Nicky Van Exel.
Okay.
Nicky Van
Was
Exel.
it was John Schneider on that Pennings team? God, it was because my sister was that age. She came through the academy.
Well, John Schneider, the general manager of the Seahawks?
Yeah.
Well, I know
Was
he was a
he
really
Pennings
good
guy?
football player then. I didn't know if he played basketball.
I think
Yeah.
he played basketball. Or there was a couple, but that whole team was full of talent.
Yeah.
Kevin Rankin being the one. I remember I went down. My sister cheerleaded for the Pennings. I was a Monterey kid, not cool.
So she went to St. Joe's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Can I ask you a question? How do they delineate between who is going to cheer for Pennings or who is going to cheer for Pennings' biggest, most heated rival, Promontory?
so you picked them, right? They just were like, I guess my sister hung out with Pennings guys. She hung out with losers. That's not my problem. I mean, where
Because my wife went to Roncalli, so she even thought that was kind of strange. How you can have opposing cheerleaders in class together.
We don't mention.
right, wearing your uniform for the night game. We still blame Pennings, by the way, because their school was so terribly crappy and old that they had to shut it down to join us at Promontory. So I still have a lot of friends that went to Pennings, and we're still giving each other hell about it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, but man, those are some great basketball days. Great high school.
Oh, phenomenal.
Man,
I
feel like I could ask you a million questions, John, and we could be here all night.
Marinette had a school.
Catholic Central.
Catholic Central.
Man, it's just you have so many. You guys are talking about stuff I don't even understand because I don't know any of these people, but I'm still finding it in so many different people.
It was a good league.
I love it. I love this stuff.
Springs. We don't mention Fond du Lac Springs on this podcast. They are the devil. They beat us at everything.
I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry.
Right. Coach Highland used to just – right. I think Highland's still coaching.
Yeah.
He is.
God, Lord. He's got to be 180.
I know, right? But he's still there.
He was
incredible.
Good.
Right.
Still is good. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, excellent.
I'm game. I got no place to go. Well, you know what? It's one of those things, though, too. It's not like, if somebody said, hey, we want you to be a bank appraiser or something, it's like, that would be a job. And I never felt like what I've done is like a job, because it's just something I would do even if I had never gotten paid for it. I would follow sports. I would, go to games. I would do whatever. So, that's just been my life. So I feel fortunate. It's funny. One time when I was working in Flint, we had this intern from Michigan State, and He said, "Oh, can I do an
Right.
interview with you for my exit interview?" I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Why did you get a job in sports broadcasting?" And I said, "To be honest, I don't think I could get a job."
And you were
And he
phenomenal.
goes, "Really?" He said, "Because there are so many people
That's
that love to
awesome.
be a
I like that.
sportscaster." I said, "I
Um,
know, but it's like I could not be a bank teller. I could not be a such and such." And I said, "It's just who I am or what I do." So I said, "If this isn't your thing, don't do it. Find that thing that's
yeah.
you and do it. Don't force anything." And I said, "I know it's tough competition in this business, but like I said, I made $9,000 a year with a wife and a daughter in Twin Falls, Idaho, living in a trailer out in the desert." I said, "If you really want to do it, just do it. Don't do something you don't want to do. At least, and if you don't like it after that, then fine. Get another job, do whatever.
Right.
But who you are, do who you are." So, that's just my thing. Like I tell people, I said, "You know what? They said, 'What have you done for a living?'"
Hey, we
I
got
said,
it down now,
"I
but I
BS for a
honestly,
living."
I would love to have you back, John, because I think
It's like,
there's so much we could talk
You were
about.
great
Heck, we
at it.
could,
well, thank,
every time we have, fall.
thank you.
I still think the radio needs you back on your show. I used
Oh,
to love your show. I think it was 9 to 11. I used to just, I drive, like I'm
awesome.
a salesman, so I'm in my car all the time and just made many a miles go away with you listening to you. It was fantastic.
Well, thank you. And people always said, "Well, was it a sports talk show or was it a?" I said, "Every single day, our mission
Well, I
immediately
appreciate it.
was to
Thank you.
talk sports." And then all of a sudden, somebody would call and talk about so and so, and the whole thing would go off the rails,
Right?
and it would just go.
Yeah, we'll land the plane. I'll
So
end
yeah,
this, and we just have
that's
to
what it
wait for it to
was.
upload.
So,
But I
but I might be doing
really
that. A
appreciate it. Thank
company
you.
contacted me about doing a morning show from 6 to 8, like a talk show about anything. So I might do that again, just to kind of get back into that. And it's like talking with you guys. It's just fun. I really enjoy it.
We're trying to figure out a way to make this happen when we still have our jobs, but we enjoy this once a week, and I'm giddy when we get together and talk whatever we're talking about.
Awesome. Well, if you guys ever need me on again, you guys, again, I'm not the most technically adept person in the world, but we'll figure it out.
Well,
I would love it. I'm here. You know my number. Whatever you need me, I'm there for you guys.
we'll send you our broadcast tape of our daughter's soccer game, and you can critique us and yell at us. And
Yeah, other than that. Anything other than that. Well, I appreciate what you guys do, though. I appreciate the fact how much dedication you put towards high school sports and young athletes. I think that's really, really important. And it's hard to find guys that are so dedicated to something like that these days. It really and truly is. So I admire the heck out of you guys.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yep. So I know what you go through. So
excellent. Well,
yep.
Jeremy, do you want to hang on a second? We'll, as Jeremy said, land the plane.
Whatever you need.